So, if you saw the last video on this YouTube channel, you would have seen the conversation that we had on Nils Höglander and the fact that the Vancouver Canucks just traded him to Nashville. With that said, I wanted to talk about another 2019 drafted Canuck that ultimately fizzled out in Canucks lore and found success on another NHL franchise. It's the same windy rooftop, so I apologize for the audio muffling up when the wind comes in. But today we're talking about former Vancouver Canucks 10th overall draft pick, Vasili Podkolzin, or as his name is actually pronounced, Vasili Podkolzin, and dive into what he ended up becoming for the Edmonton Oilers after initially starting out in Vancouver. As we mentioned in yesterday's video, Höglander was one of the remaining pieces for Vancouver out of that 2019 NHL draft. Artur Shilovs was also a guy taken, not to mention Vasili Podkolzin. But unfortunately, all of them have now gotten moved. Podkolzin was taken 10th overall by Vancouver in a draft season where he was absolutely on fire to open it up. At the beginning of the 2018-19 draft campaign, Podkolzin lit up the Ivan Hlinka Gretzky tournament, posting some of the best numbers out there as the captain for Team Russia, scoring a ton of clutch goals, and displaying NHL projectable skills. It's why Podkolzin was touted as a top 3 prospect at the beginning of the 2018-19 year. Eventually, his regular league play in that season dipped a little bit compared to the expectations, and it's why Podkolzin slipped all the way to the 10th overall spot to where the Vancouver Canucks selected him in Rogers Arena. The next few years were all over the place between various versions of SKA St. Petersburg, from their KHL team to their junior team to their VHL team, and a whole bunch of different Team Russias as well. Podkolzin didn't have the proper development path that you would hope to see out of a KHL talent. And inevitably, he made his Vancouver Canucks debut, scoring a pretty modest 30-ish points on the year. Not the best rookie season out there, but certainly serviceable for a guy who had spent so many years in Russia developing. This card itself features one of those early Podkolzin years. This is the HoloGFX card out of Upper Deck with a really cool kind of chromatic spherical bubble texture effect behind the guy. Don't get me wrong, it's a flat card, but there's a really interesting bubble element to the reflectiveness behind Podkolzin. This is just such a beautiful card to move around and to see the bubbles in the background. Vasili Podkolzin, 6'1", left-handed shot, 2001 birth date. Podkolzin recorded his 4th assist of the season when he set up Elias Pettersson for the Canucks' 3rd goal during the second period of a 5-1 victory over the visiting Arizona Coyotes on February 8th, 2022. This was a part of 2021-2022's Upper Deck Extended Series, so there is the insert right there. HoloGrFX, I guess you could say. But Podkolzin, unfortunately, fell out of favor over the next few years with new head coach Rick Tocchet. Unfortunately, Tocchet doesn't have the best way of developing Russian guys, and that's been displayed from Podkolzin to Kuzmenko to Matvei Mishkov. It's been a pretty consistent pattern, and an unfortunate one at that. So to see Podkolzin fall out of favor so quickly in the way that he did, it certainly was not ideal for Canucks fans who wanted to see this guy become a top 6 forward. Which is why the Vancouver Canucks ended up trading Podkolzin to the Edmonton Oilers for a 4th round pick. Oh my gosh, talk about the lost value there. A guy who was 10th overall ending up getting traded for a 4th round pick. Podkolzin shortly found his way on Edmonton, and in this most recent season, the guy put up almost 20 goals and almost 40 points, playing in a middle 6 role and also getting some time with Leon Draisaitl. Draisaitl loves this dude. He said multiple times that Podkolzin is a super underrated player who provides things on the ice that allow him and McDavid to do their jobs easier. Podkolzin also scored the final goal for the Edmonton Oilers in their 2024 Stanley Cup run, even though they lost to the Florida Panthers. Podkolzin is a legitimate middle to top six power forward in Edmonton who does everything he needs to do, and he's well trusted. The Canucks and Rick Tocchet, they couldn't get that out of him. So just like Nils Höglander yesterday, who got traded and whom we made a video about, Podkolzin stands out as another one of these guys that ended up getting away from the Canucks in the worst way possible. If you're a Canucks fan or an Oilers fan, let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about this hockey memorabilia discussion for Vasili Podkolzin and this HoloGrFX card? Thoughts in the comments section. I'll see you in the next one here. This has been Ice Hockey, POV.